How you doing? This is Coach DeCarlo. Today we're going to talk about something that most coaches, most manifestation coaches just won't talk about. And that's why your SP won't come back. Now, I want to tell a story that Neville conveys, and the story is this. He's speaking with a young lady in counsel, and she says, listen, I want to be with this person and nobody else. And he inquires, he says, this person and no one else? She says, this person and nobody else. And he starts asking her a series of questions, basically saying, well, what if something happens and he's caught in a violent crime and he's incarcerated? Would you still want this person and no one else? She says, I don't even know why you would say that. That's not going to happen. He says, that's just a hypothetical question, but are you sure it's this person and no one else? And so she says, this person or no one else. Some time passes and she's getting married. And as she's walking down the aisle, Neville realizes it's not the person that she said it had to be. And she looks at him blushingly and she goes through the marriage ceremony. And so, what's the point? A lot of times we think that it has to be one particular person and no one else. Now, some of you would say, well, how dare Neville? He got his SP, he got the person that he wanted. Yes, he did. And many of us will. But there's going to be those cases, and I find that there's really one reason that many people don't get their SP, and we'll discuss that. But there's going to be those cases where many people get their SPs back. So it is possible. Now, there's going to be those cases that people may be looking at an SP, and I say an SP being a specific person, and they don't even know this person, and yet they're trying to manifest it. It could be a celebrity or somebody like that, or the person could already be in a relationship. Now, let's say hypothetically you attract somebody that's already in a relationship, and this becomes your SP. With that, there's energy associated with your taking that person from their relationship and making that person your SP. We call it karma, but kisma, if you're from the Jewish culture, you can't send out that kind of energy and not get a return. And often, the energy that you're putting out, you're also going to receive back. I remember years ago, I had a friend, and she was interested in this guy by the name of Moses. Now, she was in a relationship, but she thought that Moses was going to take her to the promised land because that's what Moses told her. He gave her the impression that life with him would be much different than the life in her marriage. And I told her, I said, you think that what he's telling you is going to be the reality once you get into that relationship. I said, but you're going to have new challenges in that relationship. And needless to say, she did not move forward with Moses and enter into his promised land. But if, like I said, you just ban, let's say, a relationship or attract somebody that's in a relationship into a relationship with you, you got to always wonder. Now, some people say, well, no, I'm not going to wonder this, but you're going to always wonder, if he did it with me, will he do it to me? And that tends to be in the back of our mind. So when that person goes out and he goes about his business, he may be working and he may be really working, but in your mind's eye, you said, well, when we got into that relationship, he told his wife or his significant other that he was working and it wasn't working. So in the back of your mind, you're going to wonder, is this guy working or is he in a relationship with someone else? My whole point is you don't want that kind of energy in your new relationship. You want to build that relationship on trust. But again, that's on you. I just want to make you aware, if you take that particular energy from someone who's moved out of a relationship with someone else into a relationship with you, you're going to always wonder, will they do it to you? Now, let's moving forward. I remember years ago, I was seeing a young lady. Her name was Sherry, and I was crazy about Sherry. I had met her. We were out, and we had met one another where we were out, dancing and so forth, and we started a relationship. And to be honest with you, I kind of got infatuated with her, and because of that, I probably wasn't the best suited for her. I was at that point, because I was infatuated, I was kind of a knucklehead. And being a knucklehead, you kind of do knucklehead things and you start wondering if somebody's being faithful to you. And again, that was my stuff, but I was presenting my stuff to her. And so what happened in that relationship, of course, it dismantled, of course. And so I had to look at the energy that I was transmitting in that relationship. So a lot of times, creators, we have to look at the energy that we're transmitting in the relationship, and is that energy toxic? Because see, that toxic energy will erode the relationship. So sometime later, after she and I broke up, I convinced her to at least start talking to me again, and we started talking. And as we were talking, I told her, I said, I changed. I'm confessing all my change and how I'm no longer that person anymore. And so over the course of time, we started talking again. Now, we weren't in a relationship. We were just talking. But in our conversating, some of my old conversations came back up. And it only revealed that I hadn't changed much. So, of course, needless to say, we never moved forward in that relationship. And I had to release it because I realized that we weren't the best fit for one another. So sometimes you have to look at that. A lot of times we want what we want. We want what ego wants. So in saying that, we're not always the best fit for the person that we're in that relationship with. And sometimes that relationship is very toxic. And yet, even though it's toxic, we love that person, love making's good. And so we say, well, it has to be that person, even though that relationship can be harmful for us. So sometimes higher self will find a way out of that relationship so that we're not self-harming. And we'll do everything we can to get back into that relationship, but that relationship isn't for us. So we'll go to this coach, this guru, and everyone that tells us that we can manifest our relationship back in 24 hours. And we find that we're not successful in manifesting that relationship in 24 hours. And like I said, there's really only one main reason that we're not manifesting the relationship or our ex back. And I'm focused on the ex as opposed to a stranger on the street. The reason why I'm focused on an ex as opposed to a stranger on the street is because we have no relationship with the stranger on the street. They don't even know that we exist. Now, I'm not saying that you can't manifest that person, but first and foremost, when you're looking at manifesting, start with a relationship. I mean, even if the relationship is a friendship, at least start there as opposed to seeing Brad Pitt on TV and you're somewhere, let's say in Australia, and you're saying, well, I'm going to manifest Brad Pitt as my significant other, and you're saying, universe, 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 make this happen. The odds are much greater for you, who, of course, you don't know Brad Pitt. You're not in any type of relationship with Brad Pitt. You've only joined his Instagram account, and you're wondering why the universe hasn't brought Brad Pitt to you. And the truth is, Brad Pitt is working out his own demons, and so he's not focused on somebody that's in a totally different country that he'll never meet. So focus on those relationships that are near you. I think that will expedite and increase your chances. So there may be somebody that you work with. There may be somebody that you may just be friends with. That may be a possible specific person that you can give your attention to. But first and foremost, even with that, make sure that the two of you have at least an attraction for one another. Because that helps. For me, there's certain things that I'm attracted to, in my partner, and there's certain things that my partner is attracted to in me. You got to at least start with that foundation. Many times people want to attract an SP that you may not even have things in common, but you're going to try to force this person to be in love with you. And a lot of times we'll find that to be an uphill battle. I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm saying that it's more difficult. So at least start with common attraction factors. Now, I said that there's really one reason that we don't get our ex back, and it's this. And this is a universal law, so you have to understand this. No matter what guru you go to, no matter what teacher you go to, no matter what person says that I can teach you to win your ex in 24 hours, I can get your ex back in 24 hours, you're not going to get your ex back if you don't apply this principle, if you don't operate under this universal law. Jesus said this, to him who has, more shall be given. But to him who has not, even that which he, she appears to have will be taken from them. Now, what does this have to do with your SP, your ex? The wonderful thing about having someone who's your ex is that you guys used to be in a relationship. So there was a point where there was at least an attraction that increases the chances of you winning your ex back. Now, when you were attracted to one another, there was a common vibration that you shared. So, to him who has, the person that has money. Now, having the money doesn't mean that you always have the money physically, but you first and foremost must have the money at a subconscious level. You must be vibrating the energy of money. You can't vibrate the energy of lack and attract money. No more than you vibrate the energy of attracting your SP back or your X back and vibrating that I don't have them. And the truth of the matter is, when you're bouncing from coach to coach to coach and from this person to that person trying to get your X back, what you're saying is, I don't have. So the energy that you're transmitting at that time is energy of lack. And it's almost next to impossible, even if you attract your ex back in an energy of lack, more than likely you're going to lose them. Because the same dynamics that caused you to lose them in the first place, that caused you guys to break up in the first place, is going to reappear. And the person's going to say, see, I know this was a bad idea, because you're still transmitting from a place of lack. The way that you attract your ex back is being in the same energy vibration as your ex. Scripture says this, how can two walk together unless there's a spirit of agreement? If you're not operating, vibrating at the same level in a spirit of agreement, no matter how hard, what techniques, whatever it is that you're using, you're not going to attract that person back. And like I said, even if you somehow manipulate and get them back for a moment, it's just temporary, because you're not on the same page, as we often say in today's vernacular. So if you're not on the same page, if you're not in agreement, how can two walk together unless they agree? They won't. Now you say, well, Coach, how can I get into an agreement? I often tell people, first and foremost, you have to begin loving yourself so much that you seek your highest good. And the truth of the matter is, the people that we sometimes want to attract back into our lives may not always be for our highest good. That's why our higher self allowed the split in the first place, to protect us. But a lot of times we will fight for our limitations. We will fight to get back into an unhealthy relationship, even a violent relationship, because ego wants what ego wants. But what's good for ego is not necessarily good for your total self. So if, in fact, you want to be back in relationship with your ex, if you don't find yourself vibrating at the same level, even if you manifest that person back temporarily, it's only going to be on a temporary basis. But the best way to start vibrating at a level of your highest good is first and foremost love yourself enough and ask yourself, is this person good for me? I recall talking to someone, he was in a relationship, the relationship ended, and he hadn't talked to this person for some time. The next time he heard about the person, they were in the process of like getting married the next day. And he reached out to me, he said, listen, my ex is about ready to get married and I decided I want her back. And I told him, I said, listen, The time to have won her back was before she got engaged and got married. I said, but if you release her, you will open up the good to your highest good. And that wasn't easy for him, but he decided to release her. The funny thing is, the very next day, he was presented his ideal mate through a family mutual friend, and this new relationship was more than he could ask, think, and or imagine. I've seen this repeatedly, time and time again, where people finally release the person that they had to have, like Neville talked about earlier in the talk, to a person that was for their highest good. I had recently saw a post about a person that I was communicating with, and he and his wife had separated after 20 years of marriage, and she was in another relationship. And I said, she's in another relationship. It seems that she's moved on. Release her. And he did. After releasing his wife, it opened up the doors to this most beautiful relationship. I saw him and his new partner, and he seemed so happy. But that wouldn't have happened had he not released his partner, his ex, as it were, his wife. Sometimes you have to let go of some things in order to open up the door for your greater good. And like I said, I know that most coaches aren't teaching this, but my goal is not to be most coaches, but to be a transformational coach and to help you move on and transform your life to bigger, better, more. I know that you've been created for more, and so what I desire for you, yes, if your ex is for both of your higher goods, go for it. But if not, seek that which is for your highest good and also for their highest good. And I promise you that the universe will not disappoint. And listen, if you're seeking coaching, contact me by going to Coach DeCarlo 1. Again, that's Coach DeCarlo 1 at gmail.com. And say, Coach, I'm interested in coaching. Now, remember this, creators, that only you can create your perfect world. Not God, not even man, but only you can create your perfect world. This is Coach DeCarlo saying have a great and abundant day.